So welcome, Stefan and Sheila. And we are really excited to speak about your partnership and as co-architects of culture. So let's begin with, how did it start? How did this relationship grow? Where was it then? How has it evolved over the years, particularly during these disruptive times?
Frankly, you have been a big part in building, because it all started, of course, with Sheila joining us as a CHRO, and you helped us land Sheila. I was looking for a true business partner with truly global experience and both a deep understanding and commitment to talent. I was also looking for a culture carrier with international experience.
Sheila, you met all the criteria that he wanted. It was not an easy search, but Stefan, as you know, a true leader, he told me what he liked and what he didn't like. And when he met you, you were the one. How has that partnership grown? And how actually go back to the beginning? Because this is such a key partnership. I see it in companies all the time. The CEO and the CHRO are not aligned, or they're not really in sync with what needs to happen with regard to the culture. You two are. How did that begin?
My partnership with Stefan is central to how we lead at Aptar. The relationship between CEO and CHRO is extremely critical in today's world, because this is where strategy, culture, and talent come together. And it is how an organization can stay both high-performing and deeply human at the same time.
The buck stops with the CEO. He or she has to make the decisions, but the CHRO has to have the courage of his or her convictions. How do you work on things where you may not always agree? I'm sure you don't always agree.
I have the philosophy of leading people the way I want to be led, and I place a premium on freedom to operate. Have people who are really deeply knowledgeable and passionate about what they do. They will make the right decisions, and they want to do the best for the company. So I've made it a point always that to violate that freedom to operate or to overrule people, it really must be something that is almost close to core values. And there are many areas where Sheila has also an independent role. She works autonomously with the Management Development and Corporate Compensation Committee of the board. So that is a role where we're almost peers. Of course, we stay aligned, but she represents the board there vis-a-vis the CEO, as she should.
So you're very global. You're in APAC, you're in Europe, you've got employees all over. How do you keep that culture together so that what's said in Chicago resonates with Beijing or India? What do you do to keep people sort of aligned with the culture, the ethos of Aptar?
Our core values have not really changed over the last almost 30 years. And they start with we respect and trust people. And that is a universal core value across the world. Then, of course, we have all these vision, missions, strategic priorities that everybody has. But I would highlight one mantra. There used to be the saying, think global, act local. I actually think that is wrong. So our mantra is think and win locally and leverage globally. And what we mean by that is we need to have strong leaders in each of the regions for each of the businesses. So we call them the regional P&L leaders. They know what the competitive environment is, what the tools are at their disposal in terms of products, intellectual property, what the competitive environment is. And then they can pick from what can help them from around the world to win locally. So with that mantra, if you want, goes a certain humility to realize again that global doesn't know best, corporate for sure doesn't know best, And to win in the local marketplace, you got to empower the local leadership. We also bring, of course, all of these leaders together in something we may discuss later through our corporate university and through leadership programs where they really get indoctrinated, so to speak, in the corporate DNA.
So I did note a number of awards, recognitions you've gotten. Stefan, what does that mean in terms for the culture and for the people when they look at Barron's 100 most sustainable U.S. companies or most responsible companies by Newsweek and Forbes world's top companies for women or USA Today's America's climate leaders? And so how did you make this all happen and galvanize people around?
Yeah, we are very proud of our core values. And one of those core values is, of course, sustainability and running the business in a sustainable manner. And in many ways, today's generation, of course, wants to work for a company that does great things, creates great products that they can relate with. So we don't do sustainability or female friendliness for feel-good sake. It is a competitive advantage in the end of the day because you can attract and retain the best talent. Sometimes Sheila and I joke that we fight above our weight class in terms of the kind of talent we can attract, including some of the more recent hires. And that's the differentiator. They say, okay, I've never heard of this company before, but the more research I did is, one, I have a ton of your products at home, but two, the way you go about doing business is something I want to be part of. And that is universal. This is the sharpest competitive weapon we have in the war for talent, and it is paying dividends every day.
It's people that make it all happen, right? Technology is there, but it's still the people. And they feel this authentic leadership and they feel this partnership. But talk to us a little bit about the university that you have and how you've involved Ford with that as well, but how that really, galvanizes people globally to understand your vision, your mission, and purpose.
Our corporate university represents many things. It connects our history with our future. It embodies leadership and the core values that define Aptar. It is designed to engage employees at every level of the organization. In today's world, we must be agile in how we deliver leadership development, so we offer multiple formats: self-paced, digital learning, synchronous, asynchronous, hybrid sessions, and very highly valued in-person, face-to-face programs. Each one of these are tailored to a specific stage in an individual's career. All of the programs share a common foundation, which is our Aptar cultural legacy, our history, and our core values. Every program's content and every program's cohort is curated with attention, care, and we combine internal and external speakers to create meaningful learning experiences. These programs are not one-time events. They are how we grow and sustain our culture. They help participants, in turn, become ambassadors of Aptar's core values, the Aptar culture, wherever they go and wherever they operate. I'm very proud to say that these initiatives and our corporate university overall has award-winning programs, and it really does reflect our enduring commitment to continuous development.
Maybe I can just build on Sheila and bring this CASA program a bit to life, since Sheila and I spent there 3 weeks of the year with these top leaders, and we invite the directors to be also faculty for some of these events. So there's a significant investment. 1 week in India, 1 week in China, and 1 week at Navajo Nation in Arizona. And the content is very much tailored to specific leadership themes, and the faculty, as Sheila said, carefully selected, including our directors, do a fabulous job. It's a significant investment, 3 weeks out of the year, but it's invaluable when we discuss the next generation leaders, when we discuss important appointments. We know these people in and out. We've spent days and days with them. We walked through canyons. We walked through economic zones halfway around the world. So you really get to know these people, and they get to know the company. So it's a unique tool to bind talent to the company and inform our leadership decisions.
I find this so fascinating because you have invested, not just these 3 weeks. You send people to my boot camp, you send people to Paradigm for Parity. Development is a big part of your leadership at Aptar. But how you all come together, board directors, and I've heard board directors talked about her story to everybody. They were moved to tears. It creates vulnerability and also creates cohesiveness. People see you as real people, right? And as a really human company, and one that, wants to do good for the planet, but wants to do good for the individuals as well. And that comes across really loud and clear in your development programs that you're doing and involving the board. So kudos to you, because it is expensive, but it's also a lot of time that people put in, including yourselves. But you're saying, Stefan, that it really pays off in the longer term and short term. Is that right?
Absolutely. Look, at the end of the day, I often say the most important decisions we make, or at least I get to make, is really who is in which job. If we are honest, yes, you make decisions about M&A or capital investment, but you tend to give the money to the people you trust to create a return on that. So it comes all back to the people appointment. And the better informed those decisions are, the more effective and successful the outcome.
You do have a very impressive board. I'm happy I've placed one of those individuals. It's now the chair. So, but it's one, and I've spoken to them, whether they live in China, or they live in France, or they live, wherever. They're very cohesive as well, and they will talk, and say, we have robust discussions. We bring up the important items, and that is so important today because you're making so many highly consequential decisions. You need to have robust discussions in the boardroom. And a lot of that is around people, right? And the future of the workforce and where you're going in terms of what you're going to do strategically to build out Aptar further. So how are you looking, the two of you together, and maybe Sheila, you want to start off with the future of the workforce and what you're doing today to make sure you have those employees to do what needs to be done?
Talent and succession planning are really ongoing conversations. You're never really done with them. Stefan and I, together with our executive committee, we constantly review who we have in key roles and how strong our pipeline is for the future. We continuously review the following questions. Do we have the right leaders today and for tomorrow? Are potential successors ready to step into critical positions? Are they gaining the right exposure and experiences? These discussions are part of a structured and integrated talent process that helps us identify, attract, and develop our future leaders. When this focus starts at the top, this then really cascades through the organization. And over time, this leads to people beginning to speak the same language of leadership development. Again, as I said before, it's not a one-time thing. It is a sustained, ongoing commitment. And in turn, things like this continued commitment helps us through major disruptions, like, of course, the pandemic. We maintained this continuity, and we were able to ensure that Aptar always had the right people ready for the right roles.
So Janice, let me connect back with what you said about the board's involvement and how the board relates to each other and to the talent. I think one of the things that Sheila brought is the a mentor program that asks each director to mentor 2 of our top talents. So 9 directors, if you take me out, that's 18 talents mentored by directors. Now that's great for the talents, but from my perspective, it's perfect for the directors because they get to know the company through different windows, through different avenues. And it helps me because the board is better informed about what's going on in the company. None of this is prepared or rehearsed. They just go to a site and meet with the talent, or they have one-on-one discussions. So when we then have the board meeting, they are much better informed than if I had to bring them up to speed and they hadn't been in touch with the company. The other thing we do, we ask of our board a lot. 3 of the 4 board meetings are at sites. 2 of the board meetings are outside of the United States. So there's always half the board who has an intercontinental travel. But it is important to understand the reality of the company on the ground and to understand things like culture. Nothing is more convincing than going through a plant in rural Italy to pick up on the culture and then, see the plant in China, and that's how they get to know the company. So if we're talking about an acquisition or we're talking about an appointment, they are rooted in reality. And I think that is so important also for the talent work.
Yeah, I think involving the board, they really do know what's going on a regular basis, not just the 5 times or 6 times a year that they may meet, but really seeing this firsthand is so important. I want to ask you, Stefan, to talk a little bit about why the partnership with a CHRO is important for the CEO in terms of, and you said to me when you were looking to hire somebody into this role, I want somebody who's a culture carrier. I want somebody who has had global experience, not just traveled overseas, Janice, but lived overseas, right? And I want somebody who really understands what it is to be at the helm with me to drive this company. So tell me why it was important to you and how it has evolved to be so important today, that partnership with Sheila.
You want somebody who understands the whole context, and not every time you have a talent discussion, say, okay, let me explain what we're thinking, what the strategy is. She's in all of these discussions, and she is forming the views of the company. Why it has worked so well, I hope you don't mind, Sheila. We actually talked about the other day, being in a very multicultural and international environment, it actually helps to have grown up in a small country. And the reason is quite simple. If you come from a small country, I come from Austria, 8 million people, Hungary, 9 million people, and you are a global career, you always have to figure out what is the context, what is the culture, how can you be successful in this environment. And you have the almost built-in humility that, the way you learned it is not always the best way. And you always have to be deferential to the local ways and then build together a global culture. And we share that journey, and we only reflected on that recently. And that has made also this partnership running a global company so effective.
Yeah, global experience and global perspective. Growing up in a small country shapes how you see the world. I really, truly believe that. It teaches being humble, openness, adaptability, and a very deep respect for other cultures. My global experience has very much influenced how I lead and how I connect with others. Working and living across several countries helped me understand the value of diversity, the importance of being part of something larger than myself. Stefan and I strongly believe that global experience is an essential part of leadership. Therefore, for certain roles at Aptar, we consider international exposure fundamental, and that means living and working in another country than the one that you were born in. When you live abroad, you become part of a minority, learning to navigate new systems and rely on others. It builds empathy, resilience, curiosity. I could go on and on and on, but these are qualities that are essential in today's unpredictable world. Leaders who have lived and worked outside their comfort zones also really bring a broader set of perspectives and a much greater ability and openness to learn, ask questions, admit sometimes that you don't know something, and collaborate effectively.
So that humility and that upbringing really has impacted both of your leadership at Aptar and where you were before. So your employees obviously feel this in terms of how you now communicate with them, collaborate with them, the development programs. And so what would you like your legacy to be going forward with the employees that you've led and come to know and the company that you've built?
Believe it or not, we actually discussed this at the CASA leadership event we talked about earlier. And for me, it's ultimately really having a self-sustaining, growing, vibrant organization full of leaders who take it to the next level. For me, that's the ultimate sustainability and the ultimate thrill that no matter where you come from, if you apply yourself, if you have the interest and the traits, you can make it to the very top of Aptar, and you pull similar people along from the four corners of the earth, so to speak, in this business, and doing it in the right way. So that's really the legacy I'm looking for.
After almost 3 decades in global HR, it's even hard to believe, I've come to see success as building a healthy organization that's aligned with business strategy and really enables people to grow with the organization. When strong systems and practices support individuals in realizing their ambitions, their dreams, both the company and the people thrive. A vibrant, trusted, credible, and visible HR function is very central to this. My goal always has been to create an environment where HR acts as a true business partner, driving growth, fostering engagement, and being a great steward of the culture. That's what I strive to build, and what I see at Aptar today, a sustainable, people-centered organization that continues to evolve and succeed. My partnership with Stefan is central to how we lead at Aptar. The relationship between CEO and CHRO is extremely critical in today's world because this is where strategy, culture, and talent come together. And it is how an organization can stay both high-performing and deeply human at the same time.
So this has been a really interesting discussion. I'll probably have one more question for you both, but this is such, it's inspiring because I think people feel, for what those that I know that have placed there feel that they can move up, that they can grow with you. And that, Stefan, that you want that as your legacy, that so that everybody else will rise with to take on more responsibilities. And with the development programs and the board involvement, this is really giving people a sense of not just of belonging, but true involvement, having the impact in an organization. And you don't see that all the time. And, sometimes because there's great disruption going on in companies, people forget that people are people, and, it's not just the bottom line, it's the bottom line for people's lives. And you've really brought that to life with your mission, your vision, and all those things that you have operationalized. And Stefan, as you said about Sheila, she has that HR function, right, that she runs, which is a culture carrier, but she's a business person. And I want to let you know she does work untold hours. Because I'm talking to her at those untold hours. Wherever she is in the world, we're chatting and I'm saying, "Where are you?" Austria. What is it, 2 a.m? Yeah. So, but it's it's really heartening to see, and it's been an honor to work with you and to have people see them grow under your leadership and the authenticity that you have at Aptar. So I'll give you, a couple more parting words. Anything you would say to other partnerships like the CHRO and CEOs together? What would be your advice? in terms of what's really worked here?
I think at the end of the day, we are working at the top of a company that impacts millions of people every day. And that is a privilege. And yeah, it's long hours, but it's a privilege. And being able to work together in such a seamless manner, Sheila and I talk many times a week, whether it's in meetings, whether it's text, whether it's on the phone, across continents. It's just being connected all the time, and having that life heartbeat of the organization to care for is just a great partnership. So this is really what makes it all work, and I'm eternally grateful to have this partnership.
I always thought that as CHRO, it really is a privilege to be in a role where you can help design, shape something enduring, an organization that gives meaning to people's work and help them reach their potential. My advice to other CHROs would be bring your whole self to the role, give it your all. Lead with your head and your heart, use sound judgment and empathy. Listen deeply, reflect, and think about how to move the organization forward. Most importantly, have the courage and the energy to make the role your own. HR is really the fabric that holds an organization together. It is a delicate balance of strategy, trust, and care. When approached with authenticity and conviction, it really becomes one of the most rewarding roles in business. And I really, truly believe that.
Well, I want to thank you, Sheila Vinsler, for working with me all these years. Stefan, for having the confidence in us to, bring you great, outstanding talent. And I just want to say that, this partnership that I have had the privilege of working with really has made a difference in a company. And I have felt it, I have heard it, I have seen it. And I hope that, going forward, others will do the same, because you really do need to be culture carriers. And in today's world, it is hard. And the CEO role, the CHRO role, all C-suite roles, all board roles are really difficult. But if you listen to each other, you communicate, you collaborate, and, yes, you disagree, but you go forward as in unity, it really does work. And you are the epitome of making it work. So thank you so much for joining me today and for our audience to hear what you had to say. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you.